So the draft has come and gone, and the identity of the Philadelphia Eagles has changed. It's gone from old and slow to Philly Zoom.
Still the cowboy, Mr. McLean. You Americans are all alike. But this time, John Wayne doesn't walk into the sunset with Grace Kelly.
Scary Cooper, asshole.
Oh, Diva! Oh, shit! Oh, shit! That was crazy!
Happy trails, Hans. Dallas still stinks. Yo, everybody doing? King Dingbat here, and I hope everybody's having a great day. Hope you guys are doing well. You know, if you're new to this channel, you may be saying, why is this Dingbat wearing a belt? Why does he have a belt on his shoulder? What's up with that? Well, this belt, for those that don't know, this is a constant reminder. This has to be worn and put on the screen for at least a little bit every once in a while to remind Dallas Cowboy fans, to remind them who their champions are. Who their champions are that beat them in December with the division on the line when they were fully stacked with all these weapons. The North Dakota assassin went out and he assassinated the Dallas Cowboys with practice squad guys. So this is a constant reminder, and they have to be reminded so often, you know? I mean, they get so caught up in their sacrificing the chickens, the satanic star on their helmet, Emperor Palpatine shooting electricity out of his fingers, all that crap. They forget who the NFC East champs are, and they got to know this because it's not going to change. It's not going to change. You hear me, Mark Holmes? Eat them carbohydrates. It ain't going to change. We are the champs. And I want you not to forget that, because I think you guys think that because your draft was so good, and it wasn't a bad draft, I'll give you credit, but somehow you're instant Super Bowl contenders again. You couldn't be further from the truth. You have a situation where you have an old-ass defensive line. You have a quarterback who is unhappy because you guys don't believe in him enough to sign him. That's why you had to draft CeeDee Lamb, because you have to give him another weapon because you know he needs all the help he can get. So, Dallas, you might have had a good draft, all those kind of things, but the champs will still be the champs when it's all said and done. And for us Eagle fans, we had a crazy, crazy draft. I mean, it was ups, there were downs, there were twists, there were turns, there was a double moonwalk everywhere. I thought I was going to lose my mind at some points, you know, but it turned out pretty interesting, and I think it turned out for the better. And I wanted to come on, I wanted to give you guys kind of my grades on each day and my final grade, and, you know, kind of talk about where the Eagles are, because I think the Eagles, the identity of this team is gone. I think the whole identity last year was a team that's injured, that has old players, that has slow players, and you know, they can't really do anything. And they're not explosive, and they don't have any game breakers except for maybe a couple. That was kind of what people thought of us. And I think after this year and after this draft, I don't think it's like that anymore. I think people look at this team now and they're going to say, that's fast team. That is a fast, scary team that can beat you everywhere. The linebackers are fast. The defensive ends are fast. The corner and the secondary is fast. The wide receivers are fast. The running backs are fast. This team can kill you a million different ways. That's why people are already talking about this team being Philly Zoom, calling them Philly Zoom, because they're fast. Zoom, mother humper. Zoom. I love it. I love it. So let me go over my grades so far, or, you know, my grades in each day, and I'll just give you what I think, and then you guys can tell me how much of a dingbat I am at the end, which you'll do anyways. But when we look at the first pick, the first round, right, there's so much build up to the draft, and what are the Eagles going to do? They got to trade up, they got to trade back, whatever, and I believe they should have tried to trade up. I wasn't counting on Henry Ruggs going so early, but he did. And then, you know, of course, Judy falls at 15, which was shocking. Then CeeDee Lamb goes at 17, and you're thinking it's either going to be Justin Jefferson or Reagor. You know, maybe Mims, but you knew it kind of was going to be one of those two guys, unless they totally went like linebacker or something like that. So I was nervous leading up to this point. After Dallas took CeeDee Lamb, I was nervous because I didn't know what the Eagles were going to do. And the one thing I didn't want was Justin Jefferson. I did not want him. I didn't think he would have been a good fit. I stand by that. I believe it, even though I think he's going to be a good player in the league. I just think having a guy come in and primarily be your slot receiver wouldn't have helped us. And, I just didn't want to take the chance that he couldn't play outside. So I was nervous about that. The Eagles, they get on the clock, and it turns out they take Jalen Reagor, who I thought, it was one of my top receivers in this draft. I like his style. I like that he's fast, he's explosive. He can play on the outside, he can play inside, he can play everywhere, and he can get past defenses. He can stretch the field, and I really like that. So on day one, with that draft, I wind up giving the Eagles, and I said this in a previous video, I gave them a B+ on day one. I thought they got a B+, and the reason I wasn't higher was because I thought that they missed out on opportunities to trade up. Which, after what they did in the second round, you could obviously, in my opinion, thrown a second round in there, and you would have been better off. But they could have traded up, and I think they could have traded back a few spots, maybe picked up an extra pick. So I like the Jalen Reagor pick. I think they could have played it a little differently, and for that reason, I give the Eagles a B+ on day one. And to me, a B+ is really good. It's nothing to be complaining about or crying about. I think it's a good pick. Okay, I just think that he went slightly a little bit early. On day two, it was a very, very interesting situation because, you're watching. I'm watching, Xavier McKinney, Denzel Mims, T. Higgins. I'm waiting, holding my breath that one of these guys might fall to the Eagles at 53. Not thinking it would happen. Turns out you get to 53, and boom. You have Denzel Mims sitting there, as well as Espinenza. I think Fulton was there. There was a lot of guys who the Eagles could have drafted with the second round pick and would have played this year, would have been starters. But the Eagles turn around and they take a quarterback, Jalen Hurts. And that shocked me. I mean, you probably see my reaction to it. I'll put the link in the description if you haven't. And I was besides myself. I blacked out for a little bit because I just don't even remember it happening. I don't even remember what I was saying. I was shocked. And I did not like the pick. And I still do not like the pick. I like the player. I like his talent. I think he could be good. I have no issue with Jalen Hurts whatsoever. Nothing that I say about not liking the pick is a reflection on him. None of it. It's a reflection on the decision making to take that quarterback in the second round with first round talent on the field. So I gave that pick a D, a flat out D. And it would have been lower except for the fact that Jalen Hurts is a good athlete and I think he could be a good quarterback. So I don't want to totally dismiss the talent. However, shut up, kids out there. Stop yelling, screaming. Go in. You're supposed to be in quarantine. But I don't double moonwalk that ass. But I don't want, in all seriousness, I don't want to take away from his talent. So I'm not going to give it as low of a grade as I think it should get, but I definitely think it's at least a D. I'd give them a D for that pick because they could have done it later. They didn't have to do it now, and you left legitimate first-round talent on the board, and I'll never understand this pick because the truth is, even if they use him in a Hill-type role, it's only going to be maybe, 3-4 times a game, if that. You could have had guys that would have been playing a hell of a lot more. So that's my final feelings on it. Now, I've accepted it. I've moved on. I'm not bitter or anything like that. But when grading it, I'm going to say I give that grade a D for the second round. Now, in the third round, they took linebacker Davian Taylor. I love this pick, okay? I love this pick. Didn't know too much about him. Been watching a lot of him recently since they took him. He's fast. He's athletic. I think he could be moved around. I think he is a really, really talented player. I really love this pick. I think that the Eagles, I think this is a great pick. So I gave this pick a B+. I think this was a B+ pick. Not to mention, the Eagles went linebacker early. They never go linebacker before the fourth round. So just the fact that they did that, I have to give it a B+. So I definitely give Davion Taylor a B plus. I give Jalen Hurts a D. And then when you look at the average grade for day 2 and the final grade for it, it would be a C. I give day 2 grade as a C. I think Hurts brings the Eagles draft grade down on day 2. So we got a B plus in day 1, we got a C in day 2, and now on to day 3, which I'll try to go through a little quicker just for time's sake, so this ain't like a 35-minute video. You don't have to look at this ugly face that long. So let's just jump right into day 3. Day 3, we start out with Kevon Wallace. I love this pick. I thought this was a great pick, although I was hoping to get a wide receiver at that point. Kevon Wallace was a great pick. I think he's going to fit in right away with the Eagles at safety, A+. Then you had Jack Driscoll, guard, offensive tackle. He kind of can play both. Very athletic for offensive lineman. Needs to get stronger, but I like this pick because we need offensive linemen, so I give that an A. Then on to the 5th round, John Hightower. I love this pick. I think John Hightower was one of the big sleepers in this draft at wide receiver. I think he's so talented that it wouldn't surprise me if by the end of this year he's starting on the outside. I swear I wouldn't be surprised. I think this kid's going to be good. Obviously, I have to give this pick. I have to give it an A+. It was an A+ pick. Loved it. Now, in the 5th round, we did trade back 20 spots, and we got Marquise Goodwin. I think that was a great pickup for a trade. If you want to include this in the draft, that's fine. I really didn't because he's a veteran player. But you can't say that he wasn't directly involved in this draft. And if you do include him in this draft, you have to raise the Eagles' grade, okay? So they trade back 20 spots. Wind up going, I think, to 6th round. They get Sean Bradley, the linebacker out of Temple. I like this pick. He's a very athletic kid, a guy who fills a need for the Eagles. Local, went to Temple, and I thought this was a great pick. I give it an A. Now, remember this. When you're talking about 6th round picks and things like that, you're not going to hold those players to the same standard as you would hold a player in the 1st round, okay? So I think that for the value in the 6th round, I think Sean Bradley pick. I think it's a great pick. I like it. I think it's a solid A. Now we move on to probably my favorite pick by the Eagles in this draft. One of the guys who I think could be one of the biggest steals of the draft, and that's Quez Watkins. There is no way Quez Watkins would go in the 6th round in any other year. He would go so much earlier, but because it was so deep at the wide receiver position, he fell to the 6th round. And of course, the Eagles couldn't pass that up. They had to take him. They had to triple dip like matrimonial duties. You know what I'm saying? And that's exactly what the Eagles did. So I give this pick an A+. You want to give it an A++? Do it. I mean, I can't, but this is an A+. This is about as perfect as a pick I think you can get in the 6th round. Now, the other 6th round pick that the Eagles have, and I have to look at his name because I can never pronounce his last name, but they draft Prince Tega Wanogho. I don't even know if I said it right. Tackle, a guy who supposedly got a lot of upside, a lot of talent, and once again, the value of the 6th round for a position in need, a guy like this was a great pick. A+ for the Eagles. I have to give them an A+. And then in the 7th round pick, which they didn't have one until they made all those trades, they wind up trading for an outside linebacker from Stanford, Casey Toohill. I think it's Toohill, right? Toohill. 2 hill, 3 hill, 4 hills. I don't care what kind of hill. Okay? All I know, he's a 2 hill. And he's an outside linebacker, but the Eagles didn't draft him to play linebacker. They drafted him to play defensive end because you got to remember, in a 3-4 scheme, that outside linebacker is usually going to be converted in a 4-3 scheme to a defensive end. So the Eagles play a 4-3 defense. In that, he's going to be a defensive end, and that's what they're probably looking to do is convert him. So they're actually drafting at the defensive end position, a position where I think they needed to add somebody. It was good to take a shot on somebody. We'll see if this kid works out. But for trying to solve the problem and go and get a lot, I give it an A. Give it an A. So basically, on day 3, okay, when we look at all the picks the Eagles made in, and you can even include the Marquise Goodwin trade if you want, But I give the Eagles an A plus on day 3. They get an A plus, no question about it. Day 3 was a huge hit. It was a huge comeback after the round 2 pick, and I love this. So when you look at the Eagles' final grade, I give the Eagles, well, you have day 1, B plus, day 2 was a C, day 3 is an A plus, and I think the Eagles get a final grade of a minus. I think they get an A minus in this draft. If you want to include the Goodwin trade and the Darius Slay trade, because you can include that too, it's even higher. But the way I see it, the Eagles only really missed on one pick as far as I'm concerned. The second round pick, which is a big pick, they missed on. Other than that, I thought they were great. And I give the Eagles an A minus. If you want to say B plus, fine, I'll take that too. It's somewhere right around there, but I'm going to say A minus. I'm curious to know what you guys think. Because it was an A minus, we're going to have a victory cigar this week, smoke some victory cigars, because we got to celebrate the draft. With that said, take care, talk to you later, and don't be a dingbat.